how to forgive yourself when you make a mistake. So it could be a mistake that you made a couple of days ago or 10 years ago. Nevertheless, when you don't forgive yourself, you are basically carrying this invisible, heavy backpack everywhere you go, and you're not able to really feel free and show up as your true self. So in this video, I am going to go over how to forgive yourself fully. So why is forgiveness important in our soul's evolution? Number one, it creates an unhealthy karmic attachment to you and that person or that particular situation. And when we have these unhealthy attachments, you want to visualize these cords coming from your body to the other person or to the situation, and these cords are creating holes in your body. We are made up of light. Our soul is our light body. And every time we have these attachments that are unhealthy for us, we leak our light. And it's much more harder for us to evolve our soul. And it's also much harder for us to show up as our true selves. Like, imagine how you feel when you're completely dense, right? Your body feels heavy. A lot of times when I ask someone, how are you feeling? Some people might say, oh, I feel really light and happy. Or sometimes they might say, I feel very dense and heavy. And when you're dense and heavy, it's so much harder for you to carry on in your day, in your task, in how you show up for people. Like, forget trying to, help other people when you're feeling dense and heavy. So that's the first thing, is we need to really look at it from the perspective that we are creating holes in our body. And the more holes that we have, the more light that we leak, and we need to start letting go and severing those unhealthy, okay, we don't want to sever everything, the unhealthy attachments that we have with other people, so that we close up those holes and we become more full of light. The second thing is, when we forgive ourselves, we develop self-respect, okay? So when we have self-respect for ourselves, we are much more likely to do things that are healthy for us. No self-respecting human being would ever eat unhealthy, right? Like, unless you're coming from the perspective, I just want to have some fun and eat some fun food, that's great. But I'm really coming from the perspective of feeling guilty and not respecting yourself. When you don't respect your body and you're not respecting who you are as a person, you're much more likely to engage in habits and behaviors that are detrimental to you. Hence, always creating even more karma and more guilt and creating more mistakes in your life. When you remove the guilt and when you are able to fully forgive yourself, you're able to really respect yourself as a soul and as a human being. And you will see that your life will start to shift. So, for example, for me, I used to feel really guilty about not standing up for myself. Okay, so I saw that as a mistake. I saw that every time I didn't stand up for myself, I made a mistake, I would go home, I'll beat myself up, I would not respect myself. But what that did was that further perpetuated my cycle of not respecting myself, which made me not stand up for myself. So it just kept on going on and on in a cycle, and I kept on attracting people that would walk all over me and that not allow me to be my true self. It wasn't until I was able to forgive all the actions that led up to making me feel guilty about not sticking up for myself or standing up for myself and being my authentic self. It wasn't until then I was able to actually let go of all that stuff. And when I let go of all that stuff, that's when I started developing self-respect. And that's when I said to myself, you know what? I am going to speak my truth. I am going to stand up for myself. I am going to do things that I know that is aligned with my higher self, as opposed to just falling for everybody and just allowing people to kind of talk me out of things. And that was a pattern I had for such a long time. And it wasn't until recently I was able to fully let go of that. But it didn't happen until I was able to forgive myself and create that self-respect, which helped me completely let go of that particular behavior. Now, this kind of leads to the third thing that I'm going to mention is the third reason why you should, no one should ever do anything, that I would encourage you to forgive yourself is you end the cycle. So this is very similar to what I said earlier. When you fully forgive yourself, you're able to release and let go, you break that cycle. you no longer have that attachment to the other person or the situation, and you have respect for yourself, you completely break the cycle and you start a new cycle. You start a new pattern for yourself. So for example, if you always make the mistake of eating unhealthy, for example, then you feel guilty about it, then you eat even more unhealthy, and then you beat yourself about it, and you have no self-respect, which means you don't take care of your body, and this cycle just continues onward. And when you are fully able to let go of that and forgive yourself for that, you will start to see that you develop a new cycle of healthy eating and being respecting of your own body. But in order for you to completely finish that cycle and break that cycle is through forgiveness. So I've spoken a lot about why forgiveness is important. Let's go to how to start the forgiveness process. The first thing is to trade in your guilt for accountability. Guilt is not a good thing at all, okay? And I just don't know why we are always put in a place of guilt. And I think a lot of it has to do with, the way we were raised. Every time we do something wrong, we're a bad girl or bad boy, we get punished, we get looked upon as a bad person. Meanwhile, you have to really separate the person from the behavior. You are holding people accountable for the particular behavior because behavior does have consequences, okay? If you go around hurting other people, your behavior is going to have consequences. It's not going to go unnoticed, right? And if you think you could get away with certain things, what you did was not aligned with what your soul wants or what your higher self wants. But the guilt part is when we feel heavy. We feel like, oh my God, someone's gonna find out about me and they're gonna know that I'm not a worthy person. And that goes back into all the authorities that we had over us growing up as children. I remember when I did not finish my homework when I was in school, and I was petrified to go to school. I was petrified when the teacher would actually come close to me because I just felt so guilty for not finishing my homework. And that would just create other unhealthy behaviors. When I was a child, I would, start to lie about certain things, and I get stuck in this web of lies, and I'm so entangled in this mess, I can't get out of it. So I learned guilt at a very, very young age, and guilt doesn't do anybody any good, and it's very unproductive if you want to evolve yourself and grow. So yeah, if you're feeling guilty, everyone has felt guilty at one point or another. It's kind of the human condition. If you have felt guilty, you know the physiology effects of that. You feel heavy. You don't want to do anything. You probably want to make more mistakes, and you don't respect yourself. So you end up doing things that is not aligned with your own growth and what's actually good for you. Versus being accountable. Right? When you're accountable for something, you are being the judge of yourself, right? Not necessarily in a judgment like, I'm going to punish myself, but you are really being the authorizing being that you are. Okay, well, this is something that I did, and it wasn't aligned with my higher self. So what are the lessons that I can learn from this particular situation, as opposed to saying, I'm a terrible person, I deserve to be punished, I deserve to, repent for my sins, which is a very Christian thing to do. I also grew up Catholic, so I had a lot of guilt coming from that too, and that was very unproductive for my growth. And I could tell you that right now, it did not do me any good. The only lesson that I learned from it is it doesn't work, which is why accountability is such an important thing. So anytime that you're looking back at a particular mistake that you have made, ask yourself the question, what are the lessons that I can learn from this particular thing? Going back to my example, when I did not stand up for myself, I saw that as a mistake because I intentionally knew it wasn't a good thing for me to do for my own growth. So the lesson that I've learned is I gotta stand up for myself no matter what. No matter matter what the consequences are. And when I'm speaking my truth, it also helps other people speak their truth too. It gives permission to other people to show up as their true self, which is why I make these videos. And it's uncomfortable for me sometimes because it might be a little bit out there. And, you know, I may be losing my old audience when I'm speaking my current truth right now, right? I'm always evolving and things are always changing, but I have to do it because, I mean, I don't have to do anything, right? I'm very cognizant of my words too. I don't have to do anything, but I want to. I get to do it. I get to speak my truth because this is a lesson that I have learned for myself when I went through the process of forgiveness. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to hold myself accountable. I did not stand up for myself for numerous occasions, and these are the lessons that I'm going to take away with me. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to get curious about your mistakes. Sometimes you may be looking back at a certain mistake that you've made, and if you were to kind of take an objective point of view, it might not have been as bad as you thought. Maybe it was something that you did unintentionally. Okay, so I'll give you something that just happened to me a couple of days ago, 2 days ago. I went up to the mountain and I was taking pictures, and there was this beautiful, beautiful green caterpillar that everyone was marveling over. It was so beautiful. It was green and gorgeous, and I saw it. It was so beautiful. And I started doing other things. I started looking at the view. I started looking at the mountain. I started taking pictures. I was doing videos, and I turn around and everything happened in slow motion. My boyfriend was like, he's like, oh, watch out for the caterpillar. And then I just stepped on it and I killed the caterpillar. I killed the caterpillar. I felt really guilty about that. My immediate reaction was just guilt. I wanted to leave. I felt really terrible. So throughout the course of the day, I had to get curious about that particular mistake that I've made, right? As if I was having this conversation with someone other than myself, someone that really cared about me and loved me. First of all, it was not intentional. I did not kill the caterpillar on purpose. It was there, and I just stepped on it. It's not something I could have avoided, to be honest. And also, maybe there are other things working in the background that I don't know about. I was thinking to myself, maybe the caterpillar, made the choice to die in this particular reincarnation so they could reincarnate into another being, so they could experience how it's like to maybe be a dog or maybe be another kind of animal, and they could reincarnate into something else that could teach them lessons. So when you start to get curious about your particular mistakes and really get honest with yourself, asking yourself, like, was this even intentional? Did I even do this on purpose? But like really being honest with yourself, right? Like there's no bullshitting going on here. And then start to think to yourself, okay, what are the behind the scenes things that might be happening because of this mistake that I've made? So that's what I would invite you all to do. And the last thing is to pay your karmic restitution. Okay, so you can really be kind to other people and start to be at the service of others. I've made tons of mistakes in my past. Okay, I am not a perfect girl at all. Okay, I am perfect from the divine sense, but I have made a lot of mistakes and I have had a lot of flaws, and I have purposely manipulated other people because I just thought I could. And then, as I went on my spiritual path and I went through the forgiveness process, I realized that, I needed to start to be at the service of others, which is why, I started doing coaching for free. I started volunteering at different communities. I was a volunteer for a women's hotline for the longest time. I also, volunteered at various situations, and most recently I've been doing a lot of coaching. I do a lot of free content around your soul's evolution and helping you in your awakening process. So in a way, I see it as my karmic restitution. How can I tip the scale from, being someone who wasn't as nice as I am now? How can I tip the scale in being more more at the service of others as opposed to serving self. So anything that you can do, it doesn't have to be a giant thing. You know, if you have forgiven yourself and you have released the guilt and you have broken the cycle, now to start a new cycle or a new pattern is for you to start giving back. You know, can you just walk down your grocery store and just smile at a person and say good day to them? Can you hold the door open for somebody else? Can you donate a couple of bucks to a charity organization? There's so many things that you can do, that you can be the service of others, and that's how you close the loop of the things that you've done in the past, and you forever file it away in the past and not bring it to the present. Because the biggest thing that has a grasp on us is when we're not able to let go of the past. So we're constantly living the past. Like, we are punishing ourselves 100 times a day for something we did once, right? And when you punish yourself, you could potentially keep doing that over and over again. So it's important just to close the loop. So that's it, guys. That is my video. Thank you so much for watching my video. And in the comments below, please share with me, what do you think? You know, what are some of the steps that you have taken to forgive yourself, and what are the things that are really resonating with you? So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon for another video. Take care.